The proceeds of sale were split 60-40 between the builder and Ger himself under this arrangement. It was an ingenious system, leaving Ger free to pursue other opportunities while not having to worry about direct labour or subcontractors or any of the hundreds of daily problems that plague the building trade, while all along making good money from his earlier astute investments. Now equipped with a large war chest, Ger was keen to embark upon his next business venture, the construction of a very luxurious small hotel on Inishmore. The hotel would be sold as part of a package to overseas clients. The package would include an air taxi ride from Galway to the island, using the services of the flying club, spa treatment and haute cuisine at the hotel, and various excursions around the beautiful west coast of Ireland, both by plane and road vehicle, all at a fairly hefty price. Needless to say, there was considerable resistance to Ger's plans from some of the locals on the island, though, as was typical, opinion was divided. Some relished the additional employment that the venture would bring, while others detested the commercialisation of the island, believing the natural tranquility and unspoilt beauty of the place would be destroyed forever. Once seated inside the rather cramped cockpit of the little plane, Ger checked all the instruments to make sure everything was in order, and started the engine. "Echo India X-ray Alpha Tango ready for taxi," he said into the radio. "Roger, Alpha Tango, clear to line up runway 32, the Inishmore controller replied. Ger released the parking brake, advanced the throttle, and the plane moved gently forward. He lined it up on runway 32 as instructed, and moments later the controller called him again. "Alpha Tango cleared takeoff runway 32. Right turn out to Inverin, wind 280 at 10 knots. Ger blipped the radio again to signal that he had received the transmission. "Emma, are you belted in?" Ger said. "Yes, Dad, of course." "Good. Here we go then." He pushed the throttle to full power and the plane accelerated down the paved surface. As it gathered speed, Ger put in some rudder to keep it on the centre line, and well before the end of the runway he eased back on the yoke and the Cessna lifted cleanly into the air, crabbing slightly against the force of the stiff breeze. When the plane was at a couple of 100 feet and Ger had commenced the right turn to bring the aircraft on course for Inverin, just 10 minutes away, the radio crackled into life again. "Alpha Tango, off at 11:02. When ready, contact Galway on 118.7. Good day." "Thanks, Sean, will do. 118.7. Bye." With the wind now largely behind them, the Cessna made Inverin in just over 12 minutes. Ger rotated the dial and the transponder to 4420 and called Galway. He was asked to press the ident button on the transponder, and the Galway controller confirmed that he had been identified on the radar. "Alpha Tango, continue as cleared not above 1,500 feet. Call us at Clare Galway for the approach," the Galway controller said. "Roger, call at Clare Galway, Alpha Tango," Ger repeated. The two passengers were enjoying the scenery in the bright summer sky. Cotton wool clouds drifted by overhead, and the dappled sunlight created a light and dark patchwork pattern on the boggy ground beneath them. They were about halfway between Inverin and Moycullen, flying along at 1,500 feet, being buffeted slightly by the breeze, when the engine stuttered to a halt. "What's happening, Ger?" Fionn said with considerable alarm in his voice. "Dad! Dad!" shrieked Emma from the back seat. Ger checked all the instruments on the panel in front of him. The fuel gauge indicated there was plenty of fuel. The rev counter was at 0, and the plane began to pitch forward. Ger attempted to start the engine again. Although the propeller rotated slowly under the input from the starter motor, the engine wouldn't catch, and the angle of descent became steeper. Ger pulled back on the yoke to try and bring the nose up. He might be able to glide the plane down to earth if he couldn't get the engine going again. He pressed the radio's transmit button. "Mayday! Mayday! Alpha Tango has lost its engine. Descending rapidly." "Christ! Do something, Ger, for God's sake!" Fionn shouted, now completely panicked. Emma was crying in the rear seat. Dad, what's happening?" she sobbed. "Start, you bastard, start!" Ger shouted at the plane. Gerald Fortune tried again in vain to start the engine of the plane as the nose pitched.